Hi everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to my channel, Three Stories. My name is Zsuzsi and today's video is all about my UK travel. In May, I traveled to the United Kingdom. I went to England and I went to Scotland. That was basically my birthday trip. And I did plan to buy a couple of books, mostly classics, but I also bought a couple of other books. When I went through my TBR before the trip, I realized that I have a lot of books on my reading list that are from British authors. So I thought that, oh, this is the perfect chance to maybe get the UK edition of these books from these British authors. And when it comes to the classics, because again, I bought a couple of classics, I wanted these classics to be printed and bound in the United Kingdom. So I think I went a little bit crazy. I definitely had to repack my bags on my way back from London, but hey, it was worth it. I will take you around in England and Scotland. Scotland is gorgeous. Like, I cannot put it into words how beautiful Scotland is. The Scottish people and the Scottish accent. Now listen, you don't know me that well, but the Scottish accent, that has a certain effect on me, okay? That's all I'm saying. This is a bookish channel, so of course I will also show you the different bookstores that I went to in London as well as Edinburgh. And oh my god, like, you'll see, but there was this one particular bookstore in London, I believe we pronounce it Foyles. That was crazy. It's like 7th-floor bookstore with all kinds of books that you can imagine. So first, let's get to the travel part of the video. I will take you around in England and Scotland, and then when we come back, I will share all the books that I hold in the UK. I'm back with the books. First, the 5 classics that I bought. I don't really want to talk about these classics because these are classics. Like,
how many more times can I say classics in this video? Classics, 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 classics.
We don't need to discuss them because we basically all know about these authors and they are all very famous stories. But the first one I bought, and this is the copy that I wanted, is Emma by Jane Austen. I think that this is a beautiful copy, and again printed and bound in the United Kingdom. And then I also got The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I think that this is the only book I was able to buy in Scotland, in Edinburgh, because they didn't have a lot of books that I wanted. They have an author that I really like, Jenny Fagan, and I wanted to grab a couple of books from her, but they unfortunately didn't have it. But that's okay because I was still able to grab this classic. And then the next one is The Picture of Dorian Gray. Of course, I had to get this, and I actually really like this edition. I'm not somebody who is super crazy about covers. Of course, I want my books to have nice covers, but that's not the first criteria that's important to me when it comes to buying books. And then of course I had to buy a Shakespeare play. I actually really like Shakespeare. I really like Macbeth and Othello from him, and this is gonna be my next read, A Midsummer Night's Dream. And then the last classics that I grabbed was The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. I cannot even tell you how long I've been trying to buy this book, even in the United States, but they don't really sell them just like individually, this story. They always bind it with other stories as well, and I didn't want that copy. I wanted it separately, and I was able to find that in London, so this made me super happy. So the other 5 books that I bought, those are non-fiction, like 1 non-fiction books and then 4 like fantasy and historical fiction books. The first one is The Patriarchs by Angela Saini, which is a new release, and this was easily the most expensive one, but I'm really glad that I bought this book because Angela Saini is a fantastic writer. And just for those of you who don't know, she is a British award-winning science journalist, and I really liked her other book called Inferior. I think it was amazing. Whatever topic she discusses in her books, which is mostly sexism and racism, she approaches these books with a very scientific method, which of course I love. And in this book, she basically asks very practical and also existential questions, because she wanted to understand and she wants to explain it to us how the patriarchy came to be. Hence the title and the subtitle. What is exactly the patriarchy? Is it, as feminists say, just a completely out of control system of male domination that tries to define relationships between men and women? Or is it like something else? Many believe that male dominance is basically just the natural order of things, because hundreds, or I should say thousands of years ago, this was defined by gender roles in fighting, gender roles in hunting and gathering and childbearing. But is this system truly natural? Or is it an artificial institution that is very stubbornly preserved? To try to answer these questions, this book will look at history, global history, specifically patriarchal and matriarchal societies, to try to understand how they existed. Do they still exist? Does it have to be this way? Is there any other way? Just like I said, I really liked Inferior from her, and I cannot wait to get to this book. I think it's gonna be amazing, and it's a topic that just, being a feminist in general, this interests me. And the next book that I bought is Medusa by Jessie Burton. Now, Medusa seems to be having a moment because both Stone Blind from Natalie Haynes and then also A Shadow of Perseus by Claire Haywood, I would say. They both came out this year, at least in the United States. And honestly, Stone Blind let me down a little bit. I don't know anything about The Shadow of Perseus just yet because I haven't read it yet. But when I saw this book there, Medusa, by Jessie Burton, who wrote The Miniaturist, which is an amazing novel. It was one of the biggest surprises to me last year and I adored it. So I knew that I need to read other books from Jessie Burton. That, of course, it was a no-brainer and I had to pick this up. This is just a normal edition. This is not the one with the illustrations because I know that there is a version like that, but that's okay. I am very happy with this book, and I think that the cover for this book is also really gorgeous. So for those of you who don't know Medusa and her story in Greek mythology, Medusa was a beautiful young woman who was living in a fishing village, and then Poseidon tried to pursue her, but she didn't really give in, and then Poseidon raped her in Athena's temple. And Athena decided to take revenge on Medusa and her sisters, and she turned them into gorgons. And her sisters were turned into immortal winged beings who were at least able to fly around. But Medusa remained immortal, but she also had to bear a terrible curse because whenever she looked at somebody, they turned into stone. And because of that, because she originally didn't want to hurt people, she and her sisters, they decided to reside in a deserted island. But again, her sisters could fly, so it was really Medusa, and apparently she had a companion, a dog. They were the ones living lonely in this deserted island. But then one day Perseus lands on her island, and our story begins. I am really looking for a good Medusa retelling because, just like I said, I haven't been able to find one just yet, and I really trust Jessie Burton that she will do a really good job with this one. The next book I bought is an Elif Shafak book, and Elif Shafak is one of my favorite authors. She wrote one of my holy grail books, The Island of Missing Trees, which is, it's a masterpiece. And I am also reading another book from her, The 40 Rules of Love. I cannot say too much about it because I'm only 2 chapters in or something, but so far I like it. And this book, when I saw it and I saw this edition and I saw this cover, I knew I had to buy it. And this is The Architect's Apprentice, because I didn't tell you the title. So this is a historical fiction novel. She really likes to write historical fiction. And the author said that the inspiration for this book was a painting of Sultan Suleiman. I hope I say that correctly. And in the background of that painting, there was an elephant. So in this story, an Indian boy called Yahan, I believe that's his name, he sneaks onto a ship that delivers an elephant from India to Istanbul as a present from the Maharaja to the Sultan. Then he becomes the caretaker of this elephant, not only on the ship but also at the Sultan's palace. But then this elephant joins the chief architect Sinan, and again I hope that I'm saying that correctly, because this elephant will basically help to transfer tools for construction. And apparently this elephant is the reason why Yahan and Sinan will develop a very deep friendship in this story. Yanan is a fictional character, but Sinan is not, because apparently he was the most famous and the most iconic architect in the 1500s, and apparently he was somebody who contributed to the designs of the Taj Mahal, for example. His work has been compared to the Italian architect and engineer Michelangelo. I do not know many things about the plot, but as this is an Elif Shafak book, I expect that it's full of suspense and romance and history and adventure, and it all sounds really good, and I cannot wait to get to reading this one. The next book that I bought was The Doll Factory by Elizabeth McNeil, and I never read this book. I know that this is a very famous book, and apparently there's a TV show about this book. I don't know. I never read the book, never watched the TV shows. I don't know, but this sounds really good. It's a historical thriller, basically. And this book is based on a real life story. No, I shouldn't say that it's based on a real life story, but it was definitely inspired by a real life woman and English muse and artist and model, Elizabeth Siddal. And they basically say that she defined beauty in England in the 1800s. So it is 1850 in this book, and England is preparing for the great exhibition that took place in Hyde Park. And I actually found out about this book while I was sitting in Hyde Park. So, you know, it was a no-brainer that I had to find this in a bookshop. So the protagonist in this book is Iris, who is a painter, and she works at a doll factory where she paints the faces of the dolls, but she is not exactly happy with this work. She has more and different ambitions, and it doesn't even pay that well. So when she meets an actual painter, Louis Frost, I had to look that up. When she meets Louis Frost, she agrees to be his model and to be his muse in exchange for painting lessons, because that's what she wants. She wants to paint not on doll faces, but on canvas. At the great exhibition, she also meets a man, Silas, and he is a taxidermist. And I think that this is where the story gets super creepy. And apparently, for Iris, this meeting means nothing, and she forgets about him very, very quickly. For Silas, this meeting is the beginning of an obsession, because he decides that Iris will be his. This sounds really amazing, and I think that the next time when I'm in the mood for a thriller, this is the one that I'm going to pick up. And the last book that I bought is The Things We Do to Our Friends by Heather Darwin, and I think that this is a debut by the author. And this author, I think she lives in Edinburgh or around Edinburgh, and I picked this book up in Edinburgh. This is like super dark academia and super Edinburgh vibes, so I think I want to read this during the fall. The plot of this book is not super clear. I think that the author doesn't really want to tell us too much about what's going on, but based on what I gathered from the book and also from online, this book follows a young woman named Claire who moved from Paris to Edinburgh, Scotland, and she, for some reason, really wants to fit in there. She's learning the accent, she takes a bartender job, and she's really keen to build a completely new life for herself. Then she meets Tabitha, I think, and her group of friends, and she would do anything to belong with those people. But her new friends come with a cost, because apparently Tabitha has a project for her. I don't know what this means, and I don't know really what this book is about, but it sounds amazing. And just like I said, this is super dark academia vibes for me, and it takes place in Edinburgh, so one of my fall, probably October reads. This is it, guys. This is the end of today's video, this UK travel and mini book haul video, and I hope that you really enjoyed it. If you've never been to Scotland, you gotta travel to Scotland. That is the message of today's video. Comment down below if you think that you know some British authors that I should definitely check out. Hit share, like, subscribe. If you want to, you are welcome here, and I'll see you with another video coming very soon. Bye!